All right, Shalom and Barakatham. All praises be to the Most High God, whose name is Yahweh, and His only begotten Son, whose name is Yahweh Shai. Call halal Yahweh. All praises be to the Most High God, Yahweh, and call halal Yahweh Shai. All praises be to His Son, Yahweh Shai. Hey, honors be to the elect elders of the nation of Israel, who are laboring in truth and in sincerity on the four corners of the earth. Barakim La Habayath Madawadah. Blessings to the house of David, which you brothers labor in truth and in sincerity, and to the Akim wa Akwath brothers and sisters that also listen and believe on the glorious gospel being preached. Unto you I say Shalom. This is the brother Sakallah back with a lesson, a brief lesson all through the spirit of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua. And I'm going to jump into the fact that we have to, watch and be mindful of the things that we say. We have to be mindful of the things we say. And the main reason why is because the things we say is a representation of our conduct, our conversation, our deportment. So that the things we say is one of the first things that people notice about us is the things that we say. And that's preceded by the things that we do as well. But the things we say, it holds a lot of gravity, a lot of weight. Now, no person, on this planet is perfect or do everything correctly. But everything that we say, everything that we put out there, hey, that's for public consumption. And the thing of note is that everything that we think and feel doesn't belong in a video. Everything we think and feel. Now, I know that we're in a YouTube era, so on and so forth, and a lot of things are put out there publicly. But, as men of the Lord, through the spirit of the Most High God, Yahweh and Yahweh Shai, hey, that's just, words to the wise. Words to the wise. Maybe I'll title this video a word to the wise video. That everything that we think and feel doesn't belong in a video. Everything that goes on in general don't need to have to go into a video. But that's for those that, can receive that through the spirit. Now, this is the book of Ecclesiastes. I'll start here, 32:7. It says, speak, young man. And see, that's another thing is that in this faith, we come up and we're young men in age, but also, in understanding, in faith, in grace. So this, first and foremost, is speaking, to brethren in general. We're relatively young men. Speak, young man, if there be need of thee, and yet scarcely when thou art asked twice, or twice ask. Let thy speech be short, comprehending much in few words. Be as one that knoweth and yet holdeth his tongue. So it's better to hold your peace. Everything that you know, be as one that knoweth and yet holdeth his tongue. Everything that you're thinking, your thoughts and feelings and emotions, don't have to always go into a video. Now, I know that happens and people do that all across, Israel. And, there's an entertainment value to this as well, to whomever that, applies to. But in general, we see that a lot of things get put out there and people like to, so-called air people's dirty laundry, air them out, do disc records or videos, whatever the case is. And that's cool too. But in general, to the men of the Lord, to the servants of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, it says, speak, young man, again, if there be need of thee. Meaning, in many cases, you should be holding your peace. You shouldn't have an opinion about everything. Everybody, in this world has an opinion about everything. Well, as a man of the Lord, you realize the more and more that you learn what the scriptures say, that we have less opinions about things and we get more understanding of the word and we go with what the Most High's opinion is. So we shouldn't have an opinion about everything and put everything out for public consumption in videos. Speak, young man, if there be need of thee, and yet scarcely when thou art twice asked. Meaning you shouldn't be saying a whole lot, especially men that are up and coming or still younger in the faith. Now, knowledge does puff up and it could make a man feel like he should have more to say. And some men, maybe don't understand protocol in the spirit because they might not have come up, underneath, certain tutelage or whatever. They maybe didn't, learn certain protocols and that's cool too. But this is just a scriptural thing for those that, are, purists and really just want to serve Yahweh Bashem Yahushua in spirit and in truth. Let thy speech be short. So really, men coming up in this thing really shouldn't be saying a whole lot, especially, as it concerns other men that would be, in a position, as an elder or a big brother, so on and so forth. It says, let thy speech be short, comprehending much in few words. Be as one that knoweth and yet holdeth his tongue. So you don't always have to be speaking about everything, especially concerning other men and what they're doing, within their lessons or on comment boards or with their views or whatever. Like that all ain't got to be discussed. Some things is good to just keep inside of your own mind. Hold your peace. That don't have to be put out for public consumption. Because what does it matter? How a man goes about, doing his business. Hey, that's on him. Whether a person don't agree with it or they think a person shouldn't, deal with the comment board a certain way or they get a certain amount of views. Well, some of that needs to just be internalized or talked to with someone and tell particular people that, might want to hear it. But that ain't for everyone to hear. Everybody don't need to know all that. That's something that is, akin to particular people, not for everyone. Once again, let thy speech be short, so you should be speaking less, comprehending much in few words. Be as one that knoweth and yet holdeth his tongue. So you got to learn how to rule your spirit. That goes for all of us. This is a word to the wise for all of us. I'm speaking to myself first and foremost, and those that can hear and receive this. Now, not everybody can receive that, and that's all the Spirit of the Lord too. So let thy speech be short, comprehending much in few words. So it would be best not to be talking so much. Now, why is that important? Ecclesiastes 3 in verse 7, it says there's a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. And we just read, right? Let thy speech be short, comprehending much in few words. Be as one that knoweth and yet holdeth his tongue. I had to learn that being a young brother coming up into this thing, my first, 4 or 5 years up until now, that all of my opinions don't need to be known. And some things I had opinions about over time when I grew, hey, those opinions changed. So that's just applying the scriptures through the Spirit. Everything don't need to be talked about. Everything don't have to be a video. Everything doesn't have to be for public consumption. All of a person's feelings and emotions don't have to be, matter of fact, let me get that, don't have to be put out, right? So it's a time to speak and a time to keep quiet. Now, in general, matter of fact, let me stay here first. In general, let's go over a few chapters. In general here, we want to be speaking less. We don't want to be talking and also ranting in videos. And that happens. I see that throughout Israel, throughout men in general. A lot of the videos will be a lot of rants. Edify with the scriptures. Let your words be few. Ecclesiastes 5 and 1. It says, keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of the Most High. The house of the Most High is amongst a great congregation, amongst his people. When you're putting out videos, by and large, the people that's consuming this are other believers, men and women. Other men in the faith, first and foremost, but other believers that's going to see these videos. Keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of the Most High, and be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools. And the sacrifice of fools is when you speaking more than you're hearing. You're running your mouth. You're giving your opinions a lot. You're putting everything in videos. Everything is for public consumption. Hey, some conversations and things that go on, they don't have to, there's no need that it be put out publicly. Keep thy foot when thou goest to the house of the Most High. The house of the Most High is amongst his people, right? Which are the temple, the spiritual third temple, the house of God. And be more ready to hear. It's better to hear. Why? You got 2 ears and 1 mouth. Be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools, telling what you think, your opinions, giving all your thoughts all the time, right? For they consider not that they do evil. So a lot of people consider, well, I can say what I want to say. The Lord gave me a mouth where it's a time to speak and a time not to speak, right? And that's all through the Spirit. But in general, we shouldn't just be running our mouth saying everything that's in our mind. We're going to show why here in a second in Proverbs 21 and 2. Be not rash with thy mouth, and let not thine heart be hasty to utter anything before the Most High. See, this is being done. Everything we say and do is being done in the sight of the Most High. We got to remember that. For the Most High is in heaven, and thou upon the earth. Therefore, let thy words be few. It's saying the same thing it said in Sirach, the 32nd chapter. Let thy words be few. So we should be, especially younger men coming up, right? Which we're all still relatively younger men in the faith. Right? The younger the brother is, you're supposed to be speaking a whole lot less. Proverbs 21 and 2. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord Yahweh pondereth the heart. So by nature, a lot of men might feel like I can say what I want to say, and that's fine, right? But the Most High is telling you, that, hey, these are the things that you ought to consider in the Spirit. Let me read it again. Proverbs 21 and 2. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, But the Lord Yahweh pondereth the heart. So the Most High is pondering our hearts, right? The spirit that we truly are in. The spirit we truly are in. Now, let's get this. And I'll get a few more and close it out. It's the book of Luke, the 6th chapter. Why we don't need to be speaking, or speaking less. Let our words be few. Luke 6:45. A good man out of the good treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is good. So every way of the man, is right in his own heart, right? So it says, and bringeth forth that which is good. And an evil man out of the evil treasure of his heart bringeth forth that which is evil. For the abundance of the heart, his mouth speaketh. That's the point I want to hit on here. The abundance of the heart, the mouth speaketh. So what comes out in these videos typically shows the spirit that a man is in, but it also shows that, that some men, need to learn how to tame their tongue. Hey, Romans, the 6th chapter speaks about that. He speaks about that in the book of James, the untamable tongue in Romans 6. So it's better that we be doing less. We don't need to be extra busy and all this, got so much to say and opinions, because really, ultimately, it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. That's not going to count. Everybody's opinion don't really matter. It's a saying in the world. My old teacher used to say, I think I was in the 3rd or 4th grade, opinions are like buttholes. Everybody has one and it stinks. So everybody's opinion, hey, there could be a million opinions about whatever, but we want our words to be few. Proverbs 17:27, he that have knowledge spareth his words. So a knowledgeable man, hey, he's going to spare the things he's saying. He's going to be comprehending much, but saying less. He that knoweth, it says, he that hath knowledge spareth his words, and a man of understanding, it says, is of an excellent spirit. So a man of understanding, and he don't just be talking all the time, giving his opinions about everything, putting everything in videos, right? Verse 28, even a fool when he holdeth his peace is counted wise. So when you speak less, you're counted wise. Let me read that again. Proverbs 17:28, even a fool when he holdeth his peace is counted wise. And he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding. So that shows you why you should be comprehending much in few words, right? Back in Sirach 32, let me get that again. In verse 7, speak, young man, if there be need of thee, and yet scarcely when thou art twice asked. Let thy speech be short, comprehending much in few words. Be as one that knoweth and yet holdeth his tongue. So word to the wise is better. It's better to speak less as opposed to speaking more. Instead of uttering what's all in your mind, which I'm going to get that here in a second. In Proverbs 29. Let me read it again. Proverbs 17:28. Even a fool when he holdeth his peace is counted wise, and he that shutteth his lips is esteemed a man of understanding. So men of understanding, they ain't gonna just be ranting and giving all their thoughts and opinions all the time. Hey, that really ain't for everybody to know all of that. Let's double down on that through the spirit of the Most High Yahweh and his son Yahweh Shai. I pray this edifying to those who can receive it. Proverbs 29 and verse 11. A fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man knoweth it. It says, but the wise man, Salakia, keepeth it in till afterwards. Let's get that clean. Proverbs 29 and verse 11. A fool uttereth all his mind, but a wise man, it says, keepeth it in till afterwards. So a wise man is going to be few with his words. He's not going to be speaking and, running his mouth all the time. Especially not before the congregation of the Most High. Especially not before the congregation of the Most High. So it's better that we speak less and not say everything that's in our mind. Everything that's in our mind, our thoughts and feelings, it ain't, once again, for everybody to know. Now let's show that in, what's that, 1 John, the 4th chapter. So fool uttereth his mind. This is the book of 1 John 4 and verse 1. Now the title of this is Testing the Spirits, Discerning False Prophets. So we got to test the spirits. 1 John 4:1, beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of the Most High, because we have different spirits that come upon us, right? And every man is wise in his own eyes. We read that in Proverbs 21:2. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirits, whether they are of the Most High, because many false prophets are going out into the world. So we got to try these different spirits that come upon us, because not every spirit is of the Most High. Not every spirit is righteous. Just because we feel something or think something don't mean we need to go out and then speak on it, according to the scriptures. This is James 1:19. It's now the title of this is Listening and Doing, right? Listening and Doing. Be more ready to hear than to give the sacrifice of fools. We read that earlier in Ecclesiastes 5. James 1:19, wherefore, my beloved brethren, the beloved brethren are the elect, the men, women, and children that were chosen, right? That's going to be given salvation. Let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. So sometimes different spirits will jump on us, and this happens, where a man will get in there and then he's uttering what he feels, and there's this spirit of anger in the video, or this. Then it's not edifying. It's a bunch of ranting and raving and all this. It's not edifying. You see? So we should be swift to hear, it says, and slow to speak and slow to wrath. And once again, the things we're communicating, it matters to the Most High Yahweh and his son, whose name is Yahweh Shai. It matters. So that's the spirit that we ought to be in. And that's just word to the wise. That's word to the wise. Everything don't have to be in a video. Everything we feel, we ain't got to, put it out there, discuss it. Now, men can do whatever it is that they feel like they want to do. But for those that, that are wise, they're going to consider the words of Yahweh Bashem Yahushua, and they're going to also seek peace and pursue it, the Bible says, right? So with that, I want to give all praises, even honor and glory to the God of heaven and earth, Yahweh, Bahashem Yahushai, Bahashem Rakakwadash. All praises be to the Most High God, Yahweh, and his son Yahweh Shai. Honors be to the elect elders of the nation of Israel, Barakim La, Habayath, Madawadah. Blessings to the house of David, which ye brothers labored in truth and in sincerity. And to the Akim Wa Akwath, brothers and sisters that also listen and believe on this glorious gospel that's being preached throughout the four corners of the earth. And to you I say, Shalom, Shalom, and Shalom Wa Barakatham.